Yay! Look at that. Go audio cables. So, welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah, on the video it's going to be quiet for the first part. I'll have to go back and fix that. But audio cables, as they start and stop each time, it's what it does. Anyhow, hello everybody, welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. It is the 9th of October 2016. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. I'm joined by our good friend Ken. How are you doing today, sir?
The 9th of October sounds like it's like an assassin who only operates on the 10th month of each year. I am the 9th of October. Sounds like a really badass novel or something. I'm pretty good. I'm in a good mood. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. Like I said, I'm also in a good mood, and hoping people enjoy the pre-show music I played before things got started. I was in a very lively mood, was feeling some old school, kind of heavier rock, metal, things like that, followed by a good transition into a little bit of show tunes and things like that before the show, so that was fun. And one of those moments where I actually sat and did the DJing versus just letting the random number generator pick songs from the queue, and so, yep, that was fun. No, things are good. It's a lovely day, I'm feeling well, and so hopefully all things go fairly flawlessly today. We'll see how it goes. So,
we will see. Guys, if you want to send emails to the show, we should really be doing these shows more often, I think, and I wrote that down for myself. Do the shout out at the start, so I'm gonna
tell people, email in before the show starts, or as it's beginning, before we get to the email section.
Yeah, exactly, to showx@vtwproductions.com. There's no specific format, there's no requirement, just only put the information you want us to say in the email. For example, don't put your real name if you don't want us to say your real name, that kind of thing. But otherwise, send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com. We tend to just talk about our Geek Cred, what you guys been up to in the past week in terms of geekery and such, and it's always a good time.
Absolutely. And so, to kick things off this week, we're going to start out with, as always, our
functional deviations.
So, Ken, what have you been doing that hasn't been geek this week?
So I should probably tell the crappy part of my week that I'm trying not to think about as much as I can.
So let's just kick it off right at the beginning and talk about what's bad. Okay.
Yeah, let's get over and done with. So I drove down. As you know, I missed the show last week, which I'm sorry to say I did. I had to skip it because of work reasons. I knew I was traveling down south. I was supposed to be there Monday through Wednesday, but due to some crappy red tape where I work, I didn't get the money I needed early enough to be able to book normal public transport, which I would normally use, like trains or planes, to get down there. So instead, the money showed up in my account 2 days before I was planning to travel. And so I looked at the prices and I was like, the money I requested at this stage is
no longer,
because when you wait that long, you know, it's
ticket prices,
more. So,
everything goes up. Yep.
Yeah, pain in the ass. So I did what I decided was, it's not that I couldn't afford to. I could have harmed my own finances, then claimed it back later. But in a sort of almost screw you workplace. This is what you get for making me do this and making me having to go into my own very little amount of savings that I have at the moment. Not run up to Christmas, post buying of a visa and yada yada yada, and you know that whole thing with the electric bill that I had a couple weeks ago. Where they screwed up everything and it cost me like $1,500. Yeah, all that stuff all at once, and now I've got to spend what little money I have on travel that not even like my own life. I was not up for that. I was not okay with that. So I decided to take my car down. So I figured, hey, it's just going to be like a couple tanks of petrol. That'll be £60 or whatever.
You now have the convenience of having your own vehicle to just get up and go. So you're like, well, I can manage that.
It also means I'll have it while I was there, so it was very useful. So Sunday night I had to drive down instead of being Monday, because if I drove down on Monday, I'd either have to go in the middle of the night so that I'd get there in time for work and be really tired, or I'd have to skip a day of work in order to be there, in which case it's useless for me going there in the first place. Yes. So I had to drive down Sunday night, sadly. So anyway, I drive down Sunday night, everything's fine, no problems. It's my first time driving for more than an hour and a half. So That was pretty scary. It was an 8-hour drive and breaks, so it took me about I don't know, 9.5 hours.
Yep.
I cut my brakes down on the way back significantly, so I did improve on the way back in a way. You'll see why I say in a way in a second. That was no problem. I quite enjoyed having my car down there. I could zip back and forth to the place that I work, and then go back to the hotel, and I wasn't restricted by public transport. I didn't have to get stuck on a bus, like, absolutely packed full, because it's just this one bus that goes to the huge campus that I work, so it's always packed full of, like, IT guys. Sweaty IT guys. So it was nice to have my own car, and I was, at that point, I was really appreciating it, even though it was a pain in the ass during the drive. And the drive was, I would say I enjoyed the experience, at least the first time, because, you know, I'd never driven that length of time before, or that distance before. So it was a learning curve. It was a learning experience, and now I can say I've done a drive. Like in 1 week, I've done 1,000 miles. That's pretty cool. I can say that, and that means I've got, you know, I've probably improved my own confidence and my own driving abilities by doing that. So good all around. So that's good. However, on the way back, it was no problem at the start. I left quite early, and I was making good time, and at one point, I'd been driving for about 6 hours at this point, and I had about 2 to 3 hours left to go. And I stopped to you know, relieve myself at the edge of the motorway at one point.
Yep, to take a break.
As you have to, yeah. I saw there was this beautiful sunrise. I chose the place specifically because I was like, I'm on top of this big hill, and I can see the rolling landscape next to me. And I was like, I brought my nice camera along, and I want to take some photos of the sunset while I'm taking a break. That'll be nice. So I tried to do that. I stopped the car, I park, I open the door, and then I'm like, oh, almost forgot the camera. And I lean back to get the camera, and then I hear this whoosh, snap. And so what happened was this giant lorry, this giant truck, that was carrying, you know, massive amounts of stuff in the back of it, went flying past and was definitely speeding. It was a motorway, so the maximum you can do in the motorway here is 70 miles per hour. This guy must have been doing 80, 90, if not more, just from the sound of the wind, if nothing else. So from him doing this speed and going past, flying past, my door was already open. Thankfully, didn't hit it, because that would be a lot worse. But the wind buffeted my door open way further than it was designed to, and the hinge just snapped off. It just broke in half and fell to the floor.
Oh, jeez.
And I thought, oh, crap. So I get out of the car quickly, and I try to close the door to see if it's still working, and it's screwed. The door is completely screwed. It will not close. And I still have 3 hours of motorway driving, like highway driving to go. So I'm like, crap, what do I do? And I was thinking, like, I could just hold it closed and try to drive like that at, like, ridiculous speeds. And I was like, oh, that's not very smart. And I was like, okay, I'll call my wife. And I tried calling her, but she was at work, so she didn't answer. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll call my dad, he's a bit of a mechanic. Try to call him. Turns out he was teaching his classes for his girls' classes, for the fitness stuff. Tried to call my mom, and turns out she was working. No, sorry, she was out for a run, so she didn't have her phone with her. So I tried to call a buddy at my office, and he was, because he's a bit of a mechanic as well, and he was busy as well, and I had no internet connection, and so I was sitting there thinking, I need to call my. Thankfully, the week before, I got pickup insurance, so I had a cover. I had somebody who would come pick me up. I knew they would, but I didn't have the number, and being in the middle of the countryside, I had no internet connection. So I spent about 15-20 minutes just sitting there frantically trying to get a connection so that I could have somebody come and like just tow my car or something so that I could, you know, not be stuck there. Now I mentioned that there was the sunset, yeah? I said that the sun was setting and it was beautiful and everything. Yeah, it was on top of a hill, so it was also very, very windy. And as the sun was setting, the temperature started plummeting. And my door wouldn't close. I finally get through to the pickup agency, and they say, okay, well, we're quite busy tonight. So since your cover has certain rights, we have to be there within 3 hours. We're going to hire a contractor. It's not going to cost you anything. It'll be exactly the same service as you're used to, and you'll be there within hopefully an hour or 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, cool. Then I was sitting there waiting, and then after a while, some people started getting back in touch, and I let them know I was okay, everything's fine, just a bit of a pain. I'd be home eventually that night, and So after about an hour and a half, I get a call from this random engineer who's, a contractor. And he says to me, yeah, so where are you? And I'm like, shouldn't you know that? I mean, I just told the previous guy, and he was like, yeah, but it was very vague. And I was like, I don't know where I am any further than that. I gave him the name of the road. I gave him the name of the town that I saw on a signpost was 2 miles away. So I was like, I'm approximately 2 miles east of this town on this road. Okay, that's pretty specific, to be fair. It's not a coordinate, but he was like, okay, can you see anything else? And I started describing the farmland near me. It was just like, there was no landmark, so I was just saying, I'm on a hill next to some fields. There's trees. I was like, I've already given you everything, and the guy hung up on me.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. I thought maybe we lost the connection. I tried calling him back. Private number. Couldn't call him back. So I waited for another 20 minutes or so. No call. So I phoned up my pickup company, and I have to go through the waiting in the queue. So that took about another half hour to get through to them. And I said, hey guys, I know you're really busy, and this is a case that's already open, but I told them the situation. This guy hung up on me, who was supposed to come save me from being stuck in the middle of nowhere. And they said, oh, that's unusual. Okay, we'll be in touch with them, then we'll call you back. And then about half an hour later, they called me back and they said, yeah, he's not taking the case. We're going to have to send somebody else. And I was like,
wow.
Are you kidding? This guy, just for whatever reason, he just did not feel like coming out. It was such, like, to be fair, I know I couldn't give exact directions as to where I was, but it was fairly accurate. I gave him the name of the road, gave him the name of a nearby town, and I said I was 2 east of there. The road is bi-directional, so you can go either which way, and it wasn't hard to get to. Turns out the guy didn't even try. So they sent another engineer. They actually hired him from the town next door, and he came like half an hour later. So this whole thing took about 3.5 hours of me sitting there. By the end, when the engineer showed up, I was sitting in the back of the car because the engine wasn't running, so because I needed to preserve petrol, and so there was no heating because you need the engine running for the heating. And I mentioned the door wouldn't close, and I had the strong wind on top of this hill. And the temperature had plummeted to like 2 degrees Celsius outside. So it wasn't literally freezing, but with the wind, it felt way colder than that. And I had to stay with the car, so I couldn't go anywhere because it was open, right? And I had all my stuff in there, my expensive camera, my work laptop, all my stuff. So when they finally got there, I was in the back with a blanket and all my clothes covering me. And I was shivering like crazy, like my whole body was shivering.
Oh,
and it was crazy cold. But anyway, the guy managed to come over. He was a really, really cool guy. He was down to earth. He was much nicer sounding than the guy on the phone was. Really, in a way, I'm glad I got this guy because he managed to not fix it, but he managed to close the door on the road. Okay. I bet what the other guy would have done is what my insurance was for, which is tow me to the nearest garage. And it was by this point it was like 11 o'clock at night, so nothing would be open. Yep, so I get towed horrible. And left there overnight, and that would have been in that probably that small village, and I would have been screwed. So thankfully it all worked out. I managed to get home. My car door is still screwed. It's going to cost some money, but the one benefit from this whole thing is I mentioned that I've got a really small car, and I said it cost me a couple tanks of petrol. That costs like 60-70 quid. It's nothing crazy. It's a 1 liter car, so it's really small. But I struggle to go any speed on the motorway, But yes. The bright side is that when I claimed the money back from my workplace, their standing charge, I went for the lower one because I felt bad. Even though I was entitled to the higher one because it was a long journey, I went for the lower charge rate. And I'm approximately making about 300% of profit on the petrol. So at least there's that. Hopefully it'll cover the price of the door as well.
Yeesh. Yeah, that sucks, Ken. And I do sympathize heavily because that sounds very familiar to 2 experiences I had put together, which is, driving back from my New Mexico trip where the wind had gusted and basically done the same thing to my door, except I was able to shut it and not open it again and get home, to having broken down on my way to the wedding and having to wait for someone to come pick up the truck, and it's still sitting outside in front of my house, dead to rights, not able to run. So I definitely sympathize because car trouble's never fun, let alone to a point where you can't finish your journey. So yeah. Now I'm glad at least you were able to drive it back home, even though that was a mess. And
I now have to climb in through the passenger door and like climb over the gear stick and stuff to every time I use it now.
Oh, yes.
That was pretty sucky. But hey, it's all done now. My car's still working, and that's what I'm happiest about most. I mean, I drove 1,000 miles, and it's an old car, and it managed to stand up and survive that whole journey. So I'm actually kind of happy. It could have been a lot worse. If my engine died or something, I would not. I would. I don't know. I would have done. I couldn't have afforded it anyway, so I would have.
Yeah.
I would have been screwed. But it's all good. Also, in other news, Kitten Features has not got a job, but she's got a contract, which is good. So instead of her doing a full-time job or a part-time job, she managed to wrangle with a person that she knows from the bar, oddly enough, a customer there who works in BP, as in oil.
Okay, yeah.
1 month contract. So she's been doing that. Now the thing is, it's fairly good hourly rate, but the best part about it is it's totally open. The number of hours she does, completely open. As in, as long as if you're there, you tell us how many hours you do, and then we'll pay you that much.
Nice.
So she's doing 12-hour days, 6 days a week at the moment, making the most of this 4-week contract. On this higher rate of pay. So even though she's been not unemployed, but doing a couple shifts at the bar for the past couple months a week, now we're going to be at a case where it's more like we effectively have 3 or 4 months' wage in 1 month, which is really sweet.
Good timing for that.
So I want to give a big shout out to my lovely wife, who's going through hell in terms of hours of nothing else, because she's still doing bar shifts on top of this, believe it or not. Yeah, so she's doing 72-hour weeks plus occasional bar shifts. She's literally just working when she's awake, nothing else. So big shout out to her for being the breadwinner of the family for at least a little while, and that's very much appreciated.
Yikes! That is good to hear.
Yeah, been a crazy week. Also, I've got a couple of things I should probably mention coming up in the future. In 3 weeks, I'm traveling down south again, but it should not affect the show, but it might, because it is a Monday-Tuesday thing, but I'm going to try to head down that morning instead, if I can.
So that would be the 30th of October?
No, 24th, 25th.
Oh, okay,
2 weeks.
Sorry,
2 weeks.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, because actually it's a good thing to discuss, because I know the Halloween weekend here for the 29th, 30th, 31st, or 28th, 29th, 30th, I'm going to be down at a LAN party down in Castle Rock, so next kind of city down south off 25. And I don't believe I will be able to do the show from there, but we'll see. I may take limited things just in case, but we'll see.
No, it's no problem at all, sir. If you, either way, I'm sure I'll... I enjoy doing a solo show once in a while, so there's no problem. No problem at all. Cool. Okay, I've written that down.
I was just making sure that both of us weren't going to be busy the same weekend where it was going to be a forced pass on the week for the show. So at least this way, we're still good for all of you.
Indeed. Also, the weekend of the 9th of December. Well, actually, that whole week's going to be crazy because I'm going to be in Athens for 4 days in Greece, and Kitten's going to be in Amsterdam for a couple days that week during her birthday, while I'm in Athens. Then we're both meeting up in Geneva for that weekend to visit her family before Christmas.
Nice.
So I'll hopefully be back before the show starts on Sunday the 11th of December, but we'll see. Also, we should probably talk about what we're going to do for Christmas, because the show lands on Christmas this year.
Does it now?
Yeah.
Ooh, let's see.
In the past, I remember, was it last year, maybe 2 years ago? Whenever the last time the Show X landed on Christmas, I did do a show. However, this year I'm going to be at my parents', so it might be a bit of a struggle. We'll see. I think that's the best way to put it.
Well, theoretically, I should be in Nebraska for Christmas this year, as I think it's turning out with everything sent for my family. And I will have my mobile rig, and so depending on how events are going that day and where I'm at, I should be able to.
Okay.
And so if nothing else, I should be able to host a show, and then we'll see how it works out for who all is on the show.
If not, I would like to make a new standing promise Now I will fill this promise if you are not willing to, sir, because we already have a huge workload here, but that we do each week. I understand, but if from now on, if we ever miss a show in any week, if neither of us can do one of them, as in, if the show is not actually on a Sunday due to the fact that neither Wayne or I can make it, I promise that at the very least I will do a solo show another day that week or the week after. If not, we can try and do it together if you're up for it as well, sir. But that way we'll always do one show a week no matter what, or sometimes 2 shows a week if we have to make up.
We'll have to see what we can do, but I'm more than willing to give it a shot.
Yes. But especially for this Christmas, because if we can't do it or if we decide against it, that's fine. But it's the holiday season. I've got loads of free time. I'm happy to do one on a different day. And that's fine. Okay, so anyway, I've taken up too much time already. That's pretty much what I've been up to this week. I had a couple crazy moments teaching actually that I can't really talk about sadly, but you know how I don't know, I can't say anything. Confidentiality. Damn. Anyway, I had an experience this week that a student told me some really private information that was I can say this. It was a medically related thing. Okay. And this person, male or female, not saying age or anything, this person said to me, I got diagnosed with something pretty terrible and horrific, and it means I'm going to die in the next few years yesterday. Whoa. And yeah, because I said at the start of the class something along the lines of, hey guys, if you ever feel like you're not going to be able to make one of these classes, they are compulsory, so get in touch and tell us beforehand so that we can just, so there's no problems, and then we can mark you as not being able to attend that day and with legitimate reasons, for example. But otherwise, it was an emergency, yada 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 yada. Yep. And yeah, this person came up to me and was like, yeah, so I've got this horrific disease I was just diagnosed with, and I was like, wow, I have never been trained to deal with this. I am not qualified to deal with this. In fact, I'm not even supposed to be hearing this kind of thing. It should be handed on to the person who's in charge of the whole course, not me. So I was just like, I'm really sorry to hear that, and I gave her the contact information for the right person. So this person is now, horrible news, and it was just crazy because I've never had to deal with that before, Yeah. We're just sitting, we're trying to teach a class, just talking yada yada yada, computers, and yeah.
Then life happens. Then it's real life.
And it's so scary because this person's just started university. It was a new chapter in their life, and man, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So yeah, okay, that's been my whole week. I'll now pass on to you, sir. What have you been up to for your dysfunctional deviations this week? Hopefully something. I had a lot of sad stuff this week, so I hope you have more happy news in your life.
Nothing of mine has been sad. I mean, the stuff that I've been dealing with is just the same kind of stuff. I was going to talk about car stuff as well, just a minute. Thankfully, not nearly as bad mechanic stuff, but like I said, I still haven't finished diagnosing the truck as a whole. It's still had issues, and I've done little things, but nothing to actually diagnose and fully know what's going on. So it's still sitting there as a potential project. I haven't given up yet. I have been trying to get my car more safe, essentially, in that, well, because it's a very old vehicle. It's a little 93 Miata. It's got 184,000 miles on it. And so it's been through a lot, and I have to basically, rely on it to get to and from work and everywhere else I need to go. And so far it's been well. I keep struggling in that I cannot seem to patch this hole in the exhaust line from the turbo so I don't get all the power I can. I will have it patched for a short period of time, and then the patch fails. And I really do need to get metal re-welded over it, but I don't know a person to do that right now, or the effort it might take, because I don't think it'd be easily done while it sits in the car. I'd almost have to pull the turbo, and I can't have the car down for too long a time since I have to go to work. And on that note, one of the other things I decided to work on was the brakes, because it's good to be able to stop. Going's one thing, stopping's safer.
That's true.
And so with that, I knew I had a problem with the brakes because it was leaking out brake fluid out of one of the wheels. And so I knew there was a hole in the line, and so I'd keep adding brake fluid to make sure I'd get consistent braking, but it'd keep leaking out. So I said, all right, I'm going to take care of that. I ordered a new brake caliper to replace the one that I knew was failed. And so got that done. I had to learn, first time doing the brakes on this car, what needed to be done. Found out that that brake had been working, but more than some of the others by sure, because that was completely torn apart. But I got it replaced, and then I started to go through and said, well, if I've done that brake and changed out the rotor and the pad so it's all brand new, let me do all the brakes so that it's equal. So it drives and brakes equally and safe, right? So I went to the passenger side on the back of the car and pulled it off. And when I tried to replace it, I saw another hole in its dust boot around the piston.
Oh, no.
Not a big one, and it wasn't really leaking. It was moist, but not really leaking. I was like, all right, well, I can just change out the rotor and pads, and then I'll eventually get a new caliper for here, too. But then when I tried to compress the caliper, or the piston, so that it would go in far enough that you could then put in the new brake pads, it wouldn't go in past a certain point. So I was like, well, that's not good. So I decided I would have to replace that caliper as well. So that I could just make sure.
At what point do you just say that this car might be time for
No. Again, because even with these replacements,
car park in the sky.
No. That's the thing. Even with these replacements, calipers are nothing. Brake calipers cost after the core charge maybe $60 to $70 each. And so for all new, brand new refurbished, brand new brake pad, like dust boots and stuff on the calipers, that'll be great brake system. For the full car is less than $300. For the brand new brakes, essentially, so that all the mechanism actuates. That's nothing. That's actually not bad at all. But it went through that. I checked that back when I went to the front, and its dust boot was completely ripped apart. And so I was like, well, shoot. At this point, I might as well do all of them. And so I got the one done on the back left, and then the rest of the three I have on order, where I got one of them in. And then the other two are coming in on Tuesday for the brake parts I need. And then I will hopefully have a whole new brake system on the car, so I can at least trust stopping on it, and will feel comfortable about that. So that was my little mechanic thing I've been working on. Plus I need to change the oil and some other stuff. But I mean, that's normal car maintenance. And for a car that is 23 years old, that yes, the little rubber dust boots have started to fail doesn't surprise me. And I would
almost as old as I am.
Right? Well, that's the thing. I almost had to. I was tempted to get just rebuild kits, but I found that buying just already built new calipers costs less or the same. So I'm just doing that. Hopefully that means by next week it'll be all settled and done, and the car will be flush and good. But that was my mechanic moment of the week. Also, in doing that, though, and it's been interesting for a couple sides. I'd mentioned, I think last week or so when Tromad was on, that I had gone and gotten new wheels for my car. A friend I know that also has Miatas was giving away a set because he had 4 sets of winter wheels and tires. So tires already mounted, ready for the winter, that have that nice softer compound and the tread necessary for winter driving. And so I thought, well, I may likely have to use the Miata as my main transportation during the snow. Let me go ahead and get it. And so I went up to get them. The challenge was 4 wheels and tires fitting into a Miata is a bit of a... Thank goodness for a lot of Tetrising in my life. I have good Tetris skills and was able to fit all 4 of those wheels in the cab with me to drive them home.
Speaking of which, have you tried? It's very similar to Tetris, I guess. Have you played 1010 yet? The one that
I have
Todd
not.
recommended.
Yeah, no, I have not yet. I do need to check that one
good.
out. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I have not yet. But yeah, so I'd gotten those on. Well, the other thing I did is when I was doing all this stuff for the brakes and things, I also decided to get some of my things together for Halloween and get decorations out. And I had a plan because I have not a huge yard in the front of my house, but big enough that there's a grass patch I have to maintain and do things with it during the year. And I turned off my sprinklers a little early this year, so I'm not watering the grass right now, which of course my HOA and neighbors don't appreciate because it means my grass isn't nice, lush, and green even though the weather's starting to turn. But I did that somewhat on purpose because now that's Halloween season, I wanted the grass to look a little decrepit because I set up a big graveyard in the front of my house.
Oh,
and to do so, I get a bunch of these little styrofoam kind of grave posts and such to put out markers all throughout the yard to make it look a little more authentic instead of just having those in the grass. The other thing I do is I went and got a bunch of mulch, essentially fertilizer and such from the hardware store to lay out as though the graves are freshly dug. So it looks like there's disturbed earth all over it instead of just grass. And that way, once Halloween's over, I can just rake it into the yard, and it basically helps fertilize the yard.
Quite nice for it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a plan I've done in the past, but now I've got the whole front yard done that way. Well, that was another challenge where I was all enthusiastic at the hardware store picking up the supplies, so I got 4 bags of the mulch and stuff, or 4 bags of the dirt, and a couple bags of winterizer to fertilize the yard and all this stuff. I took it out to the car and looked at the car that's a lot of dirt. And I had already bought my Halloween decorations, so they were in the car as well. So I again had to do some Tetrising and move things about so that as I was driving the car home, not only was it weighted down as though there was more than another person in the car with me, but enough so that I was driving somewhat with like the bags of dirt next to me and having to kind of hold them up as I take a turn so they wouldn't fall onto me.
Can I
But
just
I got
say
them
how
home.
absolutely crazy it is to me that Americans are getting ready for Halloween now? That's crazy.
are
It's
you
not
talking
the day
about?
before Halloween yet.
No, as soon as October hits, you should have your decorations up. It is a
Oh my
celebration of what is All Hallows Eve. It is a celebration of all things scary and being able to enjoy the season and gifts and candy and all the autumn things that go along with Halloween. It's a celebration, not just a, you guys want to maybe go put a mask on and get some candy or something? That is
That's
not
pretty much
Halloween.
it.
That is not.
That's pretty much
That is how
Halloween.
other countries like yours fail at Halloween. Fail! So bad. See, you say you give these looks, Ken, it's because you didn't grow up with it. If ever you have the opportunity to be out here during the Halloween season, I'll have to take you because, like, I have
Good
friends who are working at haunted houses around town and stuff that I want to go visit. I may this Friday go down. Right now I'm planning to go down to the Springs. A group of mine, friends of mine, are going to a haunted mine. So it's an old mine shaft kind of thing set up underground that they've made all spooky and have ghosts and people dressed up in costumes and stuff to jump out at you
That's
and things
cool.
like that. That I think will be truly like scary slash, ba-boom, ba-boom, with jump scares and stuff like that compared to like the haunted corn mazes and things like that I've done. So that's exciting. And I mean, it's time of year to go and get your scary games, your scary movies, things like that together.
Okay, scary games I understand. In fact, I'm going to try and make an effort and do some more streaming with that, or if not streaming, at least record myself, because that is something that I'm really bad at, and so I'm there. And so even though I won't enjoy, I think others might enjoy watching me.
Oh, I do the same
am-
thing. No, during this season, I do the same thing where it's like, I hate scary games because I am very susceptible to them.
Yeah, me
I
too.
get scared very easily, and I can creep myself out, especially with audio kind of cues, anything. And that's the same thing with movies. If it's scary and I hear it, I start anticipating what's going to happen versus just accepting what's being shown to me and going, I start thinking like, oh no, it's about to happen.
Oh no, it's weird because with movies it doesn't affect me whatsoever. It's just games. It's just the interactivity of the games that makes me just.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Can't do it.
Well,
Can't do
and
it.
so yeah,
Oh, man.
between both, essentially, I do like to partake in some of that over this holiday season, and so I try to get into it. So I've got like my decorations out front with that. I don't have the ones in my front of my house all done. I need more, and I pulled some of them up from downstairs, but I need more. I'm not doing inside the house this year because I'm not actually throwing a party. I looked at all the weekends, and there's a party. One of the weekends I may go to, but other than that, I have that LAN party that I'm going to, and I wish I had paid more attention to the date beforehand, because otherwise I would not schedule anything else over the Halloween weekend. That would be my party weekend. That would be going out to other people's, getting dressed up and enjoying it. And this time I'm stuck. So I'm doing the LAN party, but not like the full Halloween experience. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I do for it. But because Halloween's on a Monday, I still get to scare kids when giving out candy, and so I will still do that. So anyhow, I got those all set up for Halloween decorations. Got them all to fit in the car, so that was good. So those are probably the biggest things I was doing that wasn't geeky this week. The one thing I did also want to mention, because while I was working on my car and doing things like that, and just generally around, I keep finding myself putting on the Hamilton soundtrack from the musical, because I really enjoy it, and it just surprisingly how the sound of it speaks to me. But enough so I was working on my car, and some lady was coming down the street trying to sell people on investment programs, groups that do
Ugh.
investing. So yeah, one of those companies that'll help you with your retirement, this and that. But as she was coming down, I had it playing on my Bluetooth speaker outside as I was working on the car, and she started singing the song as it was coming up and used that as an
that's
approach
cool.
to me. So I kind of chuckled and gave her a minute because of that, because yes, it is
Yeah.
that fun. It was like, you get it as well. So there's that. But speaking of Hamilton, one of my friends on social media just recently posted, and I'm going to have to go out so you can find this, is that Lin-Manuel Miranda, the lead in the Hamilton musical, the one that plays Alexander Hamilton, was on SNL this last week. And on Saturday Night Live, he did this whole great intro sketch that I hope people will go seek out. I'll have to find to see if I can get a YouTube link to what it says. But it's just his introduction that he did and kind of talking about how excited he was to be on SNL. And he essentially breaks into a Hamilton song while doing it. But it's great because all the lyrics are meant for Saturday Night Live, have nothing to do with Hamilton itself. But it's one of the songs from Hamilton he does it to. And it just came off so well done. And it makes me even more appreciate what that whole cast does and the skills that they have in what they're presenting. So recommend you go check it out. I think it was just this last week on Saturday Night Live, but I saw that, was like, that's so cool. So cool. So, yep. That's what I have for my non-geek this week in Dysfunctional Deviations. With that, though, I think we have a couple of emails and can transition in to geek. So with that, that reminds me I have to do other show stuff while I do this. So we'll switch this over and get into
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
And to start off today's Geek Cred, we have emails. So I'm going to start off with the first one from our good friend Wrath. It says, "Hey Wayne, Ken, friends. Been a while, so I thought I would give an update. Emailing early this week, as during the show I shall be on vacation in Michigan celebrating 3 years of marriage with the lovely wife Linz. Last weekend we enjoyed a friend's wedding as well here in Omaha. Very great time. If all goes well, I should hear promotion news before I return. Hoping for the best. Good luck, sir."
Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
good luck, definitely.
That would be awesome. As for geekery, I've been watching every match from the ongoing League of Legends World Championship, as well as a Rocket League tournament. Gosh, those people can fly. Darn good fun. And yes, if anyone didn't see, there was some cool action over Worlds over the last weekend, but I didn't see the Rocket League tournament, and I hate seeing people that are that good because, golly, they make me feel bad.
See, neither, which is a shame because I remember back in the day I used to get really into the League of Legends stuff. I used to absolutely love that. In fact, I used to have some friends around. We sit and have a few beers and stuff, kind of like as most normal people, I suppose, non-geeks would do with football, right? We did that sort of stuff with League of Legends, and it was great fun.
Well,
it was so much fun.
It is good fun.
I just don't know the game anymore. I'm out of sync with it. I just don't think it'd be as fun anymore.
There is a challenge where I do still enjoy, but because I don't know the meta, it has a problem. Like, I know the characters, and so I don't feel bad about that. I know most of the characters in a way enough that I can pay attention and know what could happen, what the abilities are, and such, even if I don't know the names or things like that. My challenge is knowing, where people should lane and where they should be. So I still watch some of Worlds, not enough of it. I had it up on my side screen as I was doing other things. And in doing so, I got to see some great action. Not a ton, but some good action, which was fun. Because I've been watching other things, I didn't actually pay as much attention. But yeah, no, I still think when it comes to esports, League of Legends is king for like what it is to watch. To actually sit down, put on the television or something like that, and watch what's going on as though it is a sport. I still think it's probably the best for that.
I agree. And Rocket League, something else that ever since the basketball upgrade, I played like one match, and then I just haven't touched it since for some reason. I don't know why, but it's again something I need to get back into because Rocket League, it was a lot of fun. I uninstalled it when I got a little bit bored of it, but because I've got very limited space in my SSD. But I should definitely get back into that. It's a great game.
We so need to get you an additional platter drive so you can just keep other games that you don't need to load quickly on, so that you have more options during game night. I know you scoff at me as though it's such a hard thing to do, but just saying. Now, you're right, though, because Rocket League is another great one for it. I haven't watched tournaments, so I don't know how well they're presented, but I've heard it's a lot of fun. But playing the game, I picked it up again today because I may have been gifted something recently. Just one of the skins of the cards because they have the new Aquadome release, so a couple new maps. And when I was going through, I was surprised at how many different arenas there are now, because I hadn't played it regularly enough to see. But I also know there are a lot of people around VTW who play the heck out of Rocket League, people who play almost every day. And so, if it's not on the TeamSpeak server, I know they go to, a lot of the times they were going to a Mumble server for one of the colleges up north because some of the people they were playing with. But I've run into a lot of people who play Rocket League often. I know Tom Bad Guy plays it a lot. And so,
I know a lot of guys in real life. In fact, even Ken Feature's sister plays it, her eldest sister, surprisingly enough.
I did not know that.
yeah, it seems like everybody's getting into it. So that's cool.
It is fun.
It's accessible as well because it's also got a sporty aspect that people enjoy too. So
automotive football.
Good for
what can you do? It's so good. So yes, no, those, but there's tournaments in both, and they're going on. So check those out. You can watch them on Twitch. You can watch them, I think, on YouTube as well, streaming. And I know even Facebook's trying to get into the streaming act more and more. So I'll be curious to see where that'll be going in the future. All right, continuing on. It says, above all, I have been enjoying myself. Oh, wait, what? Along with the legion of others playing World of Warcraft. He quotes, see what I did there? I've joined up with a great group of others from work chat, and last night we celebrated clearing the Emerald Nightmare raid, 7 for 7 on normal, and also the first boss on heroic. Definitely the biggest accomplishment of my WoW career. I main a Shadow Priest, trying to destroy everything possible, but can't wait to play other classes. Not much else, life is finally calm, looking forward to fall and winter. Take care everyone, wish you the best. P.S. Thanks for the Tro Talk episode last week. I've now listened to all of his content and am subscribed. Very cool and awesome when we can support other people that are out there doing the whole video and podcast thing. And since Tro is working with us as a subsidiary of VTW, as we will eventually find ways to bring it permanently into the fold. So yes, thank you very much for that, Raph, and appreciate hearing your opinion. All right, Ken, we have another one in there from the Kopii.
Yes, we do. It's a very short one, which is unusual for a Kopii mail. But it's also it's not the quantity, it's the quality that counts. And considering 90% of the message is my name, it must be a very good email.
Oh, geez.
So the email says, "Happy birthday, drunk, fearless leader, doctor, lord, reverend, professor, and I can't even see my own name." Drunk, fearless leader, Dr. Lord, Reverend, Professor, and Bachelor of Science with the highest of honors, Kenneth Neil Reed II. Much love, the original Kopii. Thank you very much, Lady Kopii. You're very sweet. So it's not my birthday today, and I was actually not going to bring up on the show. I was thinking to myself, people are too kind on VTW, and I was going to try and hide this birthday, but then I had to read this out. So.
Because we have people who watch out.
My birthday is at some point, but I'm not going to tell you when.
There you go.
So there.
That's right. Not that we don't have people who have totally stalked us and are able to find that information out for others.
Yeah. I'll. What I should do is change all my online profiles to have different birthdays around about the same time, so nobody knows when it is.
So it's funny because I have friends who I will surprise with, wishes, well wishes, who think they don't have anything out there that will give up their birthdays. And they just think I stalk them that way. But I have some tools, right? There are certain programs that will alert you when people's birthdays are coming up.
True.
Even if they don't think that it's part of it. Because they think if they don't have it on social media or something like that as a main thing, that nobody will have a clue, right? But then there are other tools out there that are very capable of giving that information up, and they don't realize which tools are doing that. Exactly, Ken. Exactly.
And now it's on the video as well, because the chat's on the video, and so now it's everywhere again. Damn it! Damn you, Kopii.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, no, that's awesome. And thank you for that, Kopii. Because like I said, there are those in our community who will know, even if you don't want them to. So awesome. And thank you for the email. We always appreciate emails from all of our fans, people who want to participate in our Geek Cred each day. So thank you for that. But now that we transition over, Ken, what have you been doing that's been geeky and hopefully a little more exciting and fun that isn't like troublesome and mechanical?
Oh, you mean WoW? Is that what you mean by fun? Because that's what I think it was fun.
Oh, it's fair to whatever it is you think of as fun, even if I totally disagree.
Okay.
So that's fine.
So yeah, interestingly enough, I actually want to talk about. So I hadn't to play any games all week because I've been traveling so much, and then when I came back, Thursday and Friday are my 2 days where I teach the most. I have it's just basically all day I'm teaching. Now, considering that's my second job, not my main job, I then have to use. I went into work yesterday as well in order to make up for it a little bit.
Okay.
So even though Kitten's working crazy hours, I've been working my normal high number of hours, but nothing like what she's doing right now. So as such, I've barely been playing games at all until yesterday when I decided to play some WoW, and I saw that my subscription had run out. I only had the 1 month. And I sat there and thought to myself, I was like, I've got very little money left. until like, well, we're getting paid tomorrow, right? So I'm not. Don't think I'm struggling here, mom and dad, who are no doubt listening. Everything's fine.
Yeah, those moments where you have to be careful what you say, because even though you're trying to be comedic or you're trying to say something with a little bit of emphasis for the purpose of story, yes, some audience members or some people might take things literally and be like, "Oh no! What? Oh no!"
Everything's good. Everything's good. It's just before payday. That's all it is. It's just the day before payday. So, in fact, I get paid every 3 months, and my big payday is on the 1st next month. But we've got 2 other mini paydays coming up in the next week, so that's sweet. Anyway,
nice.
That works so well for the timing of certain yearly events. Yes. So, what was I saying? I can't remember the point of my story. Oh wow! Right. So
Exactly. See,
I was gonna
so much fun, so much joy that you completely forget what you cared about it.
I don't know, that wasn't it. I just forgot I was talking about WoW. So I had the choice. I was like, okay, I've not got much money at the moment until Monday, and I've got enough for food, got enough for everything, but my entertainment budget is light. So I was like, so what, do I want to spend on WoW, or do I want to like hold off for maybe like drinks or something with somebody or whatever? And I thought, you know what? I'm actually still enjoying WoW. I'm actually still having a lot of fun. And this is unusual because usually the 1 month mark is plenty for my.
You get your fill, and then you're done, and you're like, all right, I'm out of here.
Exactly. No, she says she could have sent me a time code. I don't need a time code. Everything's cool.
Well, and again, Kopii. Stop sending people things constantly. You don't do that.
I need nothing. I am good. I need nothing.
Unless we set up a separate Patreon that is Ken's WoW experience Patreon or something.
Yeah, funding Ken's poor financial habits.
Funding Ken's Emerald Dream on Moonguard. She says stop raiding during the show. I'm not even raiding. just running around doing dailies. What?
I'm not even doing anything. I'm literally just running in circles, jumping. I don't know why. It's just something I've always done whenever I play the show. I play a game when I just literally just like, it's just the graphics more than anything. It distracts me, and I can just look around and go, oh, it's so pretty.
If ever you're wondering why Ken is sometimes not fully engaged with the show,
it's not. I'm not even doing anything.
He used to be Dungeon Defense. Oh no, what was it? It used to be. I'm trying to think your history of which games you would play during the show and things, other than League, because that one would take too much.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do League. That was too distracting. FTL was quite a good one because I could, that would. There wasn't anything too quick or demanding, and I could pause it. Banished. Oh man, I played a hell of a lot of Banished for a few months
during the show. Yep.
I loved that game. That was so good. Okay, anyway, back to the main topic. So yeah, I decided that WoW was worth it, and I'm still actually enjoying it, so that was my first point. Surprising to myself, I didn't think I'd be enjoying it for this long. But I'm now at the point where my Demon Hunter is still max level, 110. My Shaman, who was a DPS Shaman, but has recently turned Resto, in order to increase the number that... Well, okay, so Kopii and I have been playing some dungeons, and... the problem with, 2 DPS, right? It takes about 20 minutes for a group, even with the new expansion, so it's a pain in the butt. So I respec into healing, and suddenly, boom, we just get groups straight away.
Of course.
So that's sweet. That's good. I mean, I can already do that with my Demon Hunter because he's a tank anyway. I just don't enjoy playing him as a tank. So I enjoy the class for quests. Great fun for quests, but tanking is just not fun for me at all. It's really dull. I've tanked too much over the years, I think, on WoW. So generally speaking, I find it really easy and kind of just I know when I'm pulling too many mobs. I know when I'm pulling too few, and then once you get that right balance, you just need to mash the keyboard in the right order, and then it's just kind of dull. So yeah, not too fun. But yeah, instead of playing my Resto Shaman a little bit, it's been good fun. I don't particularly enjoy playing him Resto either. I enjoy him more as DPS, but I guess his group's nice and quick. So that's not so bad. And it's not the worst thing. It's still probably more fun than tanking is for me, so it's not bad. Okay. However, the thing I've been really enjoying is playing my priest, my level 53 gnome priest. Somebody asked me today. Actually, I had a great group today when I was doing some LFG with my priest. I had this one group where the tank was really strong. He was a level lower than me, but we did about 5 dungeons in a row, and he was just really good at what he was doing. And But the problem was he didn't ever pull more than one group at a time. So after like the first dungeon, I just casually like threw a Shadow Word Pain at another mob, and he just grabbed it straight away. He actually said to me, "I like this. This is great. Like, just dude, you control." He said he doesn't tank really, and he didn't know when to pull or when the best time to pull or how much to pull. So he just said for me to do it, and I was like, "Great, I'm the healer." So like DPS when they pull, if it's a hunter, it's fine because they can feint and they can lower their aggro really quickly. Yep. But priests have fade, so I can already do that. But even when I don't, I can tank no problem. I just put up a shield and I just heal myself. And I put it this way: at one point, I ran ahead of the group while they were taking out some of the mobs before, because that's just what I started doing. We barely needed heals because the tank was so good. So I just became the huntard, really, the huntard priest. And I just pulled groups. That was my whole job. It was great fun. So I'd run over, Shadow Word Pain, then I'd like cast a move fast spell and just run back to the group as fast as I could. It was great. It was so much fun. And at one point today, I was like, I'm going to try the boss by myself. I was in ZF. And I was like, I'll just try. And it was fine. I went up to the Executioner in Zul'Farrak. They were all downstairs killing all the mobs. I took them down to half health and I still had full health. It was no problem. Because Discipline Priest has Smite, and the great thing about Smite is it does a bunch of holy damage, whatever. But the best thing about it is that it also absorbs the next attack that person does up to an amount.
Oh,
so
nice.
I can cast really quickly. I had a lot of haste on the character, so I was just like bam, 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 and every time he'd hit me, it'd just do 0. So I was effectively tanking it and doing DPS. No problem at all. So when they got there, they were like, "Wow, Imba Priest," because the boss was at half health, and it was just me, this gnome, like throwing light at it. So that was cool. But we did like 5 instances today, and that's why I leveled up about 8 levels today in about 2 hours. Just because this group was just so fast, just lightning fast. Because I tank was great. I knew how to pull. I knew how many to pull. We started to fail at the end because one of our DPS left, and a random one joined. And he saw what I was doing, and then he decided he wanted to emulate. But we had the perfect formula, and he just ruined it. He just I would pull the amount that I knew the tank would be okay with. Then he'd be like, "Oh, I pulled the boss," and then the DPS would die, and then I'd have to actually have to heal, and yeah, it became a bit of a mess at the end, but it was great fun though. I really really did enjoy it. WoW is fantastic, and I'm still really enjoying it. I've seen people say in chat repeatedly, completely opposite to the last expansion, because people were complaining from the get-go with the last expansion. But people are still saying in the chat, like, "Oh, I love this expansion. I'm really enjoying the artifacts. I'm really enjoying the classes. The zones are great. The raids are great. The dungeons are great, etc., etc." So I agree. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. I might even say, this is quite big. This is quite hard for me, right? This is tough. I might even say this is the second best expansion I've played yet.
Well, you're enjoying it still already. It's going past the initial threshold of Ken's 1 month and done, and so it has some legs to say that. We'll see how you feel in another month's time as you continue to play. But no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's funny because I get a lot of response where people think I'm going to ridicule them because they bring up WoW and the fact that they're playing it and enjoying it. And I tell people, you know what? That's fine. It's okay. Enjoy the games that you're playing. That's why you play games. I just have found that I am not one for MMOs. And it's not WoW in particular. Every MMO I've tried, I've been able to play for a minute, and then I get bored and want to do something else. And so that's just me, right? That's just me. Just like how I enjoy first-person shooters and will play the heck out of almost any of those, there's a lot of people who don't like them. And so it is okay to enjoy what you enjoy. So putting that out there, don't think I'm going to suddenly jump down someone's throat because you mentioned WoW. I may, if you show Undying Blizzard love, then I may get onto you, but that's different.
That is different. Oh, and Kopii actually agrees with me. That's rare. Somebody actually agrees with me about my opinions on WoW. I said Wrath is the best, then Legion, then Burning Crusade, then Warlords of Draenor, then Cataclysm, and then Mists of Pandaria with the worst one. Even though Mists had great areas, great quests, and I love the treasures that they finally implemented, but I hated the freaking pandas, man. There was just the whole thing was like the quests were great and the stuff, but you just had to pretend that all the characters were in there. I was walking around like la 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 la, I'm pretending you're an orc.
There's nothing wrong with pandas. They're just big furry
There's
bears.
everything wrong with pandas.
What?
Everything.
They're just black and white bears. There were bears before.
Worgans were unnecessary as well, by the way. They're also terrible. And goblins are crap as well, actually, while man. And so are gnomes. But gnomes are good. It was good because they were like the joke race. They were the butt of all the jokes, and that was fine. Just like the Tauren are for the Horde.
Hey!
Because
hey.
you're like, what? Hey, one of my mains used to be a Tauren. I'm not complaining. I like the Tauren, mainly because I like Warcraft 3 and I actually like the lore of them. However, they are joke characters. They're walking cows. I mean, they're
the
jokes.
toughest of the race. It's funny because in chat then as it goes, Earth pulls up something I was going to ask and says, original WoW, the greatest version. In saying that, where does vanilla stand in that cadre?
So
Kopii.
So.
What was that?
So what I said was my favorite expansions are.
Oh no, I know you said that's why the question was whether that people would rate vanilla WoW above the expansions or whether they fit somewhere in the overall list of what they've enjoyed, which is valid and interesting because when you continue to change and upgrade a game. I mean, I would say ask the same thing of someone who's a major EverQuest player because I think I just saw some news that said they're about to release their 26th expansion or something like that. And so the question would even be to go in there. Where does vanilla EverQuest sit in with all the many, many expansions they've had? And arguably, the expansions actually made EverQuest much better in most cases because the original mechanics on the game were crap. But yeah, so, no. Interesting. So what else outside of WoW have you been doing that's been geek this week, Ken?
Well, just quickly, continuing what we're saying with the IRC there, I updated my list to include classics, so I said Wrath, Legion, Burning Crusade, Classic, Draenor, Cataclysm.
Oh, interesting.
Classic was good, don't get me wrong, but Burning Crusade improved upon Classic, which was already good. It's like Warcraft 3 with the Frozen Throne. Warcraft 3 was fantastic. Nothing wrong with it. The Frozen Throne was better, and it improved upon it. So Burning Crusade is above that. Legion's definitely above that because I'm thoroughly enjoying that right now. Probably more so than I did the Burning Crusade, and Wrath is just the best ever. So yeah. Other than WoW, my other phone. Well, sorry, my Nexus 6.
Okay.
Has battery life has been dying
Uh-oh.
to the point where it would last 2 hours without me even using it, like just being in my pocket, and then I'd try to take it out and it'd be dead.
Yeah.
Now, this hasn't really been a problem because I have my external battery pack. Which has been great because it just keeps everything alive and fine. So, because it can recharge the Nexus, I think it was 14 times over or something like that before. So, in theory, it would last me like 2 full days anyway, more so than the original battery life would have lasted anyway. So, it really wasn't a problem. But the problem came when I was teaching last Friday, and I just finished my first class, looked at my phone to see where I was going next to teach my next class, and I didn't know. And it was and I was like, okay, this is affecting my work now. I had to run back to my room to check where I was, and I was 5 minutes late for a class because of it.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, okay, well, my early upgrade was last Sunday, and I was like, I may as well just go for it at this point, so long as I can get before my long drive, because I really also needed a reliable phone the whole time for my maps, right? I need to make sure I can get there. It's fairly important. So
we rely heavier and heavier on our technology.
Yeah. I did print out the sheets. I had directions in hand and paper just in case, but I did not want to rely on that because I know that there's a difference, right? One of them would have my phone next to me and it would tell me where to go each turn and it'd be fine. The other option is I'd have the maps printed out and I'd have to stop every half an hour to make sure I'm on the right route. That's not fun, and it would increase my travel time massively.
Oh yeah.
So I went to Vodafone and. Thankfully, one of my old students worked there, because I was told when I called up Vodafone like the week before that I would not get my previous employee discount from when I used to work at HP.
Okay.
So it was a nice 30% discount, a big chunk off of the Nexus 6, which made it totally affordable.
Nice, yes.
Yeah, it was a really big discount, so it was really sweet. But sadly I was told on the phone that it wouldn't be available, but I went to the store and it was my ex-student, and I said to her, sadly, my employee discount is no longer valid since I don't work there anymore. And she was like, it's not valid, but you can always get a friends and family discount. And I was like, "Oh, you're good." Sadly, I can't change your grades because you're not there, but you're good. So that was cool having an extra student there.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got my. It wasn't the 30%, but she managed to give me 15% off. So it was
Hey,
still, that was
it's
still
nice
pretty good.
when you know people.
Oh yeah, that was really nice. It was really nice of her, and it was. She said she didn't feel pressured to do it. I think she was just like, you're a good teacher, and I appreciate the effort you put in. You always stayed late in classes, so this is totally fine. I was like, oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. So I've upgraded. I have an upgrade. I now have the the Galaxy S7 Edge.
Nice.
So it's actually a phone with a curved screen, which is really unique for me.
So it's got the curve around the edges, right? Where it curves around the edge a bit. There are some neat designs, and it's one of the only things that makes me ever feel not bad about my decision to be an Apple phone user, but just I see kind of the interesting different design elements that some companies use. And I look at those and realize that Apple has their look, and that's kind of all they'll ever do. Where I do see some of the stuff that other phone developers made, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I appreciate what they're doing with tech. And so, neat. Very cool. So hopefully that's going to run stable and solid for you, and the battery will stay up now.
Well, the reason I chose that phone was, well, first of all, it's one of the best out there, right? Like I like having a good phone. That's some people don't like. Some people see it as a total waste of money, spending like £30-40 a month on a phone. But for me, I use my phone so much. Like each day, I must use my phone hundreds of times. I must use it for 4 or 5 hours a day. I use it in the car. I have it mounted in my car so that it will it'll tell me my directions. I can do my music. I can I don't know, whenever I get a call, I don't need to touch it. I can just I can talk to it and get call people for me. And I love that. I love having an advanced phone that's really useful and has all these features. I like the fact that I can do my work on it as well. I can download PDFs. I can browse PDFs. I can edit things. It's got the whole Microsoft Office suite on it now, so it makes it really good for teaching as well. It's really
nice.
nice.
One of the most amazing devices we've come up with, where it is such a powerful multi-purpose computer in our pocket that you can do more than what people probably ever imagined could be done. Mobilely, all with the time on the go now. So people,
Totally.
I don't know if they underestimate enough or appreciate how powerful it is having a smartphone on you at all times. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, I would struggle in my life without it. I genuinely would. My work would suffer, my family life would suffer, and much else besides. The other reason I chose this, not only is it the best phone in the market in terms of processing, and it came with the Microsoft Office for free, the whole Microsoft Office suite. That's brilliant, and a free terabyte worth of storage for OneDrive. So I've moved away from Google temporarily to see what that's like. So I'm really enjoying that, and most importantly, it's the biggest battery available for a smartphone on the market right now, for a modern phone. Really? Yeah, it's just one of the best ones out there, which is great. It's got 3,500 mAh, I think it is, and I can tell. At the end, I use it all day. I play games on it. I watch videos on it. I use it constantly, and I come home with it about 67%. I think I could easily go 2 days without charging it, which is, for a modern smartphone, crazy. Especially one with such a beautiful screen. I would have thought it would be really struggling, but no, it's absolutely beautiful. It's crisp. It's lovely.
Nice.
It's really nice.
Well, and the new screens are gorgeous.
Oh, they really are. I've not got a cover for it, as you might have noticed, and I think I'm going to try going without.
Ooh, you are a risky individual, sir.
I had my Nexus 6 for 2 years, and I never once dropped it. Not once.
I know a lot of people that go without covers. I personally don't mind adding another 40 or 50 bucks to a phone, because I have seen enough times that I've dropped one occasionally here or there where it's like, whoo, I'm very happy it dropped on that and not this, because I've destroyed a case before. In fact, this life-proof I have, the edges are completely worn through and such. And this is not...
VTW Productions.
Hey, Kopii.
Well, there's a sign, because we went beyond our normal break time there, and I wasn't paying attention because we were having stories. So... With that, what we're going to do is take a break here, and then we'll come back and Ken can finish his story after this, and then I'll get into my Geek Cred. So with that, we'll take the break. I do need to refurbish my fluids here so I have something to drink, and then we will get back to it. I'm going to play a song from our friend Louie during the break, and so hopefully you guys enjoy that, and then we will be right back. You're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com. We'll be back right after this break.
You're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com.
About to fall. 13-month-old baby, yeah. Broken looking glass. 7 years of bad luck, but who fits in your past? When you believe in things that you don't understand, till you suffer. Superstition ain't your way. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands. Rid me of the problem. Do all that you can. Keep me in a daydream. Keep me going strong. You don't want to save me. Sad is my song. When you believe in things that you don't understand, till you suffer. Superstition ain't your way. Very superstitious. Nothing more to say. Very superstitious. The devil's on his way. 30-month-old baby. Broken looking girls. 7 years of bad luck. Good bits in your head. Do you believe in things that you don't understand? Then you suffer. Superstition ain't your way.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
All right, everybody, and we're back. Time to finish up stories with Ken about geekiness. All right, sir. Sorry to have interrupted you for the break, but we are back and ready to go.
It is absolutely no problem, sir. So there is one. In fact, I should probably have pulled it up. That was kind of silly of me. There is one thing that's tempting me to have a cover for my phone, for this new phone, and it's something that's fairly new technology, and it's actually being published by Samsung themselves, who made the phone. I've got it here somewhere. I saved it in a list somewhere on Amazon. There it is. It's the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge Backpack Wireless Charging Case. So, the cool thing about this is not that it makes it wireless charging, because that's kind of an older technology. The cool thing about this is it actually stores your battery life inside of it, and then you charge while you're on the fly. So you just protect. It's just like a normal case.
Oh, so it's an extra battery case, essentially.
But it's also got wireless charging on it. So it's just a normal phone like you normally have with an inch thicker case on it, or even not really an inch, like a half inch or whatever. And it like doubles the battery life. So this already huge battery life on this phone. If I had that and I just charged it when I could occasionally, it'd be great. I mean, like no matter what kind of emergency situation, or even if I decided to watch a film on it or whatever, it'd be no problem. Like, it'd be absolutely no problem.
Oh, yeah.
So I am tempted by that. That is quite a nifty looking thing.
The battery cases are pretty cool in that sense that you can just keep adding a storage for batteries. You can go forever.
Yeah, that is sweet. I like the idea of that. I've also been tempted by the let me get here as well, the Samsung Gear VR. So it's £52, so it's nothing too expensive. That's it there in the IRC again. And it's well, at first I wasn't so sure about it, but I was looking at the ratings and looking through the reviews, and man, people are pretty happy with it. Plus, inside of it is 250 gig USB portable hard drive.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, that's what it says with the specs.
Oh, that's good. That means you can store all of your VR games just on that, so that you only need them or use them when you have it plugged in.
Well, to be honest, I was thinking we'd just get, if I got that, I would have just gotten an SD card, like a 128 gig SD card, and then never had a problem anyway, right? But the fact that it also has that is pretty sweet. So, I mean, that means that I could really properly game on the go, you know, with that kind of technology. This kind of a beautiful screen that it's got. Currently the best processor on the market with the best other specs as well with this phone. It'd be a real gaming machine. So I am tempted. So we'll see.
Well, yep. I have heard good things about the Gear VR. I mean, it's a static only motion of your head around kind of experience versus the lean and such that the Oculus gives you with VR. But even when I tried it out at CES a while back, I was surprised with how well it looked because the screen is gorgeous. And if you don't have another VR experience, I can see that being fun, and it works really well for people who are flying on planes and stuff like that to watch movies.
Ooh.
In the little VR kind of theater they do.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because when you stick on the Gear VR then and you put your phone on it, right, you're watching a movie in a false theater, and so it really does pull the experience of being in a plane away from you, so you don't have to worry about the person next to you.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. Oh, okay, now I'm almost sold.
Well, that's one of the better uses I've seen for the Gear VR, because it's not like phenomenal, but it's good, especially in a passive situation like that where you're just sitting back watching a movie. And there are a lot of really neat VR experiences. One of the better things is, you know, have you ever been on social media or something where they have those embedded 360 experiences where your phone, you can just use the accelerometers to rotate around and look around the scene? Well, that works in VR as well. So those same scenes you can kind of watch where you stick it on your head, now you're fully immersed in it, you're looking around, which is pretty cool. So now, if you do, I'd be very curious to see what you think if you end up going that direction.
I may just do it. It's on my Amazon wish list, and all my close friends have access to it for my birthday, and my family, etc. as well. So, if I might get it then. If not, I might just hold off till Christmas or whatever. So that'd be cool as well. But I am certainly tempted, that's for sure. The one thing that I was slightly saddened myself with was this new phone is cool and everything, and I love it, and it is currently the best in the market. But Google, I knew were about to announce a new phone, and they announced their Pixel and their Pixel XL. Yep. Which is the new version of Nexus phones, and the to be fair, the hardware doesn't look like anything particularly special. It's good, but it's not majorly competitive from what I read anyway. So, but that wasn't too. I wasn't too interested in that.
So it didn't actually pull you back, where when you first saw it, you're like, oh no, but then they released it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, but the one thing I am jealous of is the new software that comes with it. So it's very powerful in terms of software. It's just gorgeous. It's just beautiful. It's just fantastic. It has like Google's AI built into pretty much everything, and I use Google's AI quite a lot. So.
Isn't that still pretty much the base? You know, what is it? The base Android software. So at some point it may just be available on all those phones, or.
No, that's kind of their selling point for Pixel is that it's more into the OS somehow. I don't know how. I don't understand it myself, but it's supposed to be. That's how they're selling it. That's what they talked about most of the event they had last week or during the week this week. Was the fact that the software is so good. So there'd be no point in them selling this phone if it was just software, right? That was available and everything. So we'll see. I don't know. Hopefully it's not so good that it makes me jealous.
Well, I don't know. At the suggested price of $750 for the phone, it's like, ooh, man, those subsidy programs from wireless carriers going away really hurts. That you have to buy everything itself. But interesting.
Yeah. But that's been my week in Geek. So, sir, what have you been up to?
Well, let's see if I can knock through everything quick enough here. First thing, I talked a little bit about how Skyrim, and I'd gone back through and done the ultimate modding guide and gotten it to work. Well, that was in the past. The present, and I had told you about it before, Ken, is that it is broken again for me, as all good modding does for me in Skyrim. Although I think I've figured out the major issue, I just have to go back through and reconfigure a few mods to get it working again, and that is that I apparently have no luck in running ENBs. An ENB is essentially a plugin that modifies DirectX that allows different lighting effects and things like that to run on top of the engine of DirectX and works in multiple different games and platforms out there. Only one I've really tried it on is Skyrim. It works also in things like Grand Theft Auto. I'm trying to think some of the other major mods that I've seen it work on where they talk about just the effects you can do in that modified DirectX call. And it goes really far into things of like HDR and different lighting effects and kind of post-processing stuff that can really make a scene look amazing. In Skyrim, it often makes the dark scenes of nighttime look really rich and dark, and you have the light from torches and different effects and lighting really stand out. And so it can be a beautiful upgrade to what's already done with the textures and everything like that on the engine. But eventually I figure I'll go back in there, yank out the ENB, and just get it functional with all the other mods, because there's some other ones I want to get in there, see if I can play it again. Because, of course, Skyrim being, a 5 or something year old game, is still gorgeous once you modify it up to today's kind of level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and as well as some of the gameplay stuff I want to do, and the big upgrades and add-ons people have done are almost their own standalone downloads, or DLC would be considered as such if they were released from Bethesda and not modders. And so there's some great ones like, there's at least 3 or 4 out there now that I want to check out. Let's see, beyond Skyrim, and hopefully I'll get that going. I have been playing with, kind of right here for video purposes, my first MacBook, if you will. And it's not really mine in the sense that it's one that my cousin Hostel was given by his mother. She's a teacher, and they eventually upgraded at their school, and so she had the old one that they were using. And this is old by Apple considerations, because this is a MacBook Pro. It is running an Intel processor, like a 2.4 gig processor.
Well, what year is it, do you know?
I am not sure. I want to say 2008.
Okay, so. Yeah, that's fairly old.
Yeah, so from
it still runs fine. I'd recommend if you've got an SSD in there, it'll be no problem.
Well, and I don't think it does because it's that old. But the interesting thing is I've never really played in the Apple architecture. I don't know Mac OS for crap. I've played with it on necessity at a couple occasions, and so I know how to at least navigate it. But the difference in their settings menus and kind of how they list programs and access programs is very different. Very different. But what I've tried to do is this is currently running, it's OS 10 because that's all the OS they have now. And now it's just variations of. And this one specifically, for anybody who is working Mac or things like that will understand, this is running version 10.5.8. So this is the version, I don't know the official name of it, but before Snow Leopard. And that should take people back.
Leopard, then.
Yeah, so just Leopard, I guess. Take people back years and years on this. The challenge of this is that I've been trying to, now that I've got access to it, update some of the programs and things like that just to make it sort of work in regular everyday things. The challenge being because of Apple's desire to push people into new technology, they are notorious for losing support on old hardware and lacking it.
Yeah.
So this has a limit to how far you can upgrade it with their OS before they no longer support it. And the
Yeah,
challenge
friends
is,
have the same problem with their machines, yeah.
yeah, so supposedly I can upgrade it, but in the current form, I can't use any modern anything. I can't even update browsers on it.
Yep.
Like the browsers that are on it are stuck. I can't get Chrome, can't get the new Safari, can't put Firefox on it because they all say it won't work with that version of Mac OS. And so what I've done is I've purchased, because at this point you can't do a digital upgrade from Leopard to Snow Leopard. You have to do a disc purchase. And so, yes. So I bought a disc of Snow Leopard from Apple. Thankfully it was only $20.
Pretty good.
Plus tax and like free shipping, because they also officially no longer support Snow Leopard on their their OS list, because they're now up to like .11 or something, which is I just saw the name of it as I was trying to upgrade stuff. I forget the name off the top of my head, but whatever version of it. So we're gonna see. I've heard there's some upgrade paths from Snow Leopard if it works on this further on, but we'll see how far it goes, because honestly the spec for this MacBook are pretty good, because it's 2.4 gig dual core processor. It's got 4 gigs of memory on it and a decent size hard drive, not huge but a decent size. I mean, it is an older thing, but the hardware has held up fine, perfect condition. I did have to also buy a new battery for it because the original battery exploded. Two of the cells in it actually expanded out and like poofed out and broke the case open. And so wherever I think my cousin had kept in the sun or something, or just sitting wherever it had, eventually the battery pack actually exploded out of the back of it. So I ordered a new one, so that cost me like another $30-something on eBay to find a replacement one. But it's fine and happy and holds battery just fine, it seems. So this is going to be a new chapter of me kind of playing with computer stuff to try to familiarize myself with Mac. Just because I've never had access to it, I've only ever run them through emulators. So this is my first opportunity to actually truly work on an Apple platform since my Apple II Plus days back in the 80s. So that's one thing I'm playing with.
Well, Apple products, Macs in general, I should say, are beautiful bits of hardware. They are gorgeous. When people mock them, I think they're quite right to mock the price.
Oh yeah.
However, they're not. They have absolutely no right to mock the hardware or the OS. I think the OS is beautiful as well. I agree that they are really incredibly annoying for not updating their hardware any further, and they definitely should. They just don't tend to. Sorry, their software. They really
it's just
don't
the way they
tend to for whatever
support the
reason.
software's bad. So
It's because if they don't, they can encourage you to buy new hardware, which they can actually run the OS, right?
They've been successful in convincing consumers of theirs to continuously upgrade and purchase along their paths. And so for them it works. For me, I ran essentially this old processor and board I have sitting next to me on my desk here for 7 years. And I was still running Windows 10 and stuff like that. All the new updates, no problem. And could add in even add-in cards after to add USB 3 support and stuff like that. So it was still fully functional, just maybe limited in speed and bandwidth, but totally worked. Especially as a laptop, upgrade path doesn't exist. So we'll see what I can do with the software. I'll take it as far as I can, as long as I can get the modern browsers to run on it. Because honestly, I can't even play YouTube. I don't think was working on it. Because they've moved over to like HTML5. They've tried to work over to HTML5, and beyond that, I can't update any of those things like Flash or stuff like that because they're all past the version.
No, that's what I'm saying. It'll try to use Flash because that's what they used back in the day, and it'll be confused. It'll be, what's this HTML5? I don't know what that is.
So none of the browsers on it support it. So I can't run that. I can't run most modern things on it, even though it'll load the pages because it still works. It's still a browser. But it was surprising to me how there were no upgrade paths. And even worse is trying to find older versions, like how far they maybe took a version of Chrome or a version of Safari to work on that OS still. You can't even find those because it's so no longer supported. But anyhow, that's the Apple thing. We'll see how it goes. I'll give updates as it goes forward, depending on my experience. So
also, if you do continue down the path and you end up upgrading or whatever, It is a great. Well, my Mac doesn't work anymore because the hardware died on me actually. But what I really enjoyed it was basically a netbook, right? So you stream Netflix from it, or you use it to browse the web, whatever. But what I really enjoyed doing is customizing it. It's actually very customizable if you know what you're doing, and I had a vague idea what I was doing, and I can pass on some of that knowledge to you now. There's this great bit of software called Geek Tools, which is a scripting language, really, that allows you to effectively do what Rainmeter does for Windows, but you can do a bit more because the scripting is really open.
Nice.
There's implementations for Google Calendar, for iTunes, for Spotify, for Last.fm, for the weather, for whatever else. And you can even give them like beautiful 3D feels, and it makes it a really futuristic background. Now, just Google the word Geek Tools. I put a link out into the IRC for an image search. You can see all the sort of stuff people have done. It's kind of a dead technology now. You won't see many posts done in the last. You'll maybe see one or two in the last few months, and that's it on the official forums. However, it all still runs just fine, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It's completely free. Most of the things you download are scripts that are pre-written called geeklets.
Okay.
That's the official terminology, geeklets. And there's no one website to find all this stuff, but you can find some on DeviantArt, you can find some on like osxfans.com or something like that. But honestly, just Google Geek Tools and you'll find it all just with a bit of looking around. And it is worthwhile doing. I've tried a mix of some. Like at the end, I started just doing my own thing. But when I first started, I tried the Tron theme, which I think you'll love. By the way, it's really pretty, and it shows all your system specs, your current RAM, disk usage, etc., all on the desktop, and it looks really pretty. That was a really nice one. And the one other one I'd really recommend is, I think it's called Sandy Desktop or something like that. Oh, I found it here already. It's a very popular one. What's it called? No, this is just a random picture. Never mind. But there's this beautiful sandy desert one that you'll probably see because it's one of the most popular ones out there. It's also very pretty. So yeah, look into it if you're interested. And that's for any Mac fans out there. I would recommend it. It can change from being a generic Mac, where you can change the wallpaper and that's it, to something that's truly unique and beautiful that you'll just leave it running just so you can look at the background. It is honestly that nice.
Nice. I'm putting that in there from you. So that'll be in the show notes as well for anyone that is running Mac OS. Awesome. So let's see. Other things I've been doing geeky. I'm still continuing in Mechtoberfest. Still play MechWarrior online with people, although I say with people, usually by myself, because it's much faster to finish dailies on MechWarrior if you just concentrate on doing what you need for each mech weight you need. And as soon as you die in game with one mech weight class, you can quit out of that match and load in a different mech while that one's still stuck in the match and continue on. So if you're just doing dailies, you can knock them out much faster that way. So instead of it taking like 2.5, 3 hours with a group of friends, I can do it in about an hour on my own if I'm actually playing well. So still doing that, still enjoying it. I've earned like, 2.5 million C-bills in game so far or something for when the rewards come out at the end of this on the 17th. And so I'm excited for that. Also, I have been watching a lot of things. One of the things I just finished now and started and finished in this last week is Luke Cage, the new Netflix series in the Marvel Universe under the Defenders.
I've not heard of this before.
So Luke Cage was introduced in Jessica Jones, for people who have not watched the Jessica Jones Netflix show. So it goes right along the same lines where basically they started it all with the Netflix ones on Daredevil. So as they're building up to their show that's going to be coming out next year, called The Defenders, which takes place made up of this group of 4 heroes, they started with Daredevil, did that season. In Daredevil, they introduced essentially Jessica Jones, or they moved on to Jessica Jones afterwards. From there, they had some crossover between the two. And then they did Daredevil Season 2, where they introduced Punisher, who eventually will be getting his own series, although not a Defender. As well in Jessica Jones, they introduced Luke Cage. Well, with Luke Cage, he did get his own series. It just came out on Netflix recently. I've now finished watching all 13 episodes, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. It's a series it's interesting because Marvel has its themes for how it's doing, and Luke Cage is no question the black show. Because this takes place in Harlem, New York, basically, down in Harlem, which is a very predominantly black community, and the lead character, Luke Cage, is a black character. And so between the two, it focuses on a lot of things from that side of the world, and in a less socioeconomically, powerful area like Harlem. And I really enjoyed it. It's interesting. At first, I was saying it kicked off in a way that I said I might have liked it better than anything else. But going back, I'd say I probably, as a whole, still like Daredevil a little bit better. Just there's some things they do in Daredevil and for how his action sequences play out different than Luke Cage's that I really enjoy. There's a lot more martial arts feel, stuff like that from Daredevil for the fighting. But Luke Cage, being just such the character he is, essentially he's bulletproof for people who don't know who he is. He is stronger by far than a regular person, and he's essentially got impervious skin, and which makes him a very strong character. And so it goes through that. It's really interesting. I enjoyed it, and it has a great feel to it. A lot of talent, a lot of great music behind it. They showcase it by having a club in the series, and in that they bring in a lot of unknown artists or little side artists in this from today that play it, and just the music's phenomenal. Really good acting throughout. I enjoyed it. Recommend it for people to go check out. And it leads up to what's going to be coming out with the Defenders next year. And two little bits of news, because this last weekend, essentially, or this weekend going on right now, is New York Comic Con. And at New York City Comic Con, not only do I have some friends up there, like Lily R.E.'s up there with her group, that we've interviewed before, and a couple other friends of mine out there, but they did some announcements there for Marvel. They had the entire cast, essentially, of the Defenders come out, including they have a trailer for the new release for Iron Fist, another character that'll be part of the Defenders. And I'm including links in here so you can go check those out. They also showed on stage that they had the whole cast of the Defenders, so they had Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil, all their actors on stage together. Very cool. They also announced that one of the villains that will be coming out in the Defenders series is going to be played by Sigourney Weaver. So, lead actress from the Alien series, epic sci-fi heroine, right? Female lead. Cool. And so she's actually going to be in there as Defender. So she came out on stage to showcase that, and that'll be coming out next year. Looking forward to that heavily. Along the same lines that got announced at New York Comic Con is there was a trailer announced for the new Power Rangers movie that's going to be coming out next year. That's something that, Ken, I don't know if you watched growing up, if you cared about or watched as a kid Power Rangers.
I think there was like 2 films I had on VHS that I thoroughly enjoyed as a kid, but I didn't get into like any series more than just occasionally watching, and it wasn't a big thing for me. I was just so hooked on Dragon Ball Z, I didn't really care about anything else, I guess.
Fair. It's one of those things.
I enjoyed it, but even looking back, I don't remember half of it. I remember the big floating head, and I remember the theme tune, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember the sort of passive racism, and that's about it.
Well, so from that, though, that's honestly about the same level of my understanding of it, because I watched episodes here and there, but at the time it was a little childish for me, and so I didn't really get into it and follow it. But I'm aware of it, and I did enjoy bits of what I saw, and I've seen certain characters, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty epic. So with this trailer, though, I watched it, and I gotta give credit. This is coming out as a movie, and I personally like what I've seen. So I'm including the link for on YouTube for the Power Rangers trailer in the show notes as well. Please check it out. I think it could be interesting. I like what they're doing, how they're so far showcasing the power of the Rangers, even though it's just a little teaser trailer so far. So check that out. I thought it was really cool. I'm kind of excited for that. Also, I've been going through kind of an anime club thing at work where there's a group of us who chat together about things. And we had gone through and said that we should watch some old ones, some different ones from then, and just kind of do it as a kind of like a book club thing, but episode of anime a day. And
that's great. What you guys could do is you can just like bring one of the trash cans in and just place that in the corner, and then you can sit and watch your trash all day.
No,
you can do it at work.
We're not allowed to watch things at work. No. Ken, you are terrible and don't know any better for yourself. You need to learn to enjoy the finer things in life like anime. So in this case, we went back and watched an old series called Louis the Rune Soldier. And I just finished watching the series. Admittedly, it's not any kind of high, great thing. It's kind of more cartoonish than anything, than kind of traditional anime. The tropes are kind of there, the types of characters that are in it. But this is one that came out in the early 2000s. It was modeled after things that were kind of from the 90s. And it doesn't have the greatest of voice acting and things like that, but it's entertaining. And so I got through the whole thing. It's kind of funny because all the episodes leading up to the end, which I want to say there's 24 total, like the first half of the series were just kind of random for fun episodes. Admittedly, they did still have kind of an overall theme, and they introduced characters in such a way that it leads up to the fun finale of it. But the actual finale of the series was all of the last 2 episodes, where it kind of goes into what's really happening. So it doesn't have kind of the elegance of modern anime where you start on a main storyline that can continue through the entire season and series, or even multiple seasons, and see that you're still building.
Did they not know how their funding was going to go or something? Did they think it was going to be a long-lasting thing and they had to just
I don't
put it all
know.
together at the end?
Well, I honestly think it's just that timeline, that time frame, and the kind of things that were done back then, because the shows just didn't have the same kind of art direction they do today. And again, it was more cartoonish. It was almost like if you go and watch old episodes of Voltron or He-Man or stuff like that, yeah, there were their shows and they maybe had a kind of a general story arc, but they didn't really have a well-placed thing that constantly built. You know, they were designed to be kind of episodic, you know, just things you watched each day, and for kids, right? And I don't know, Louie was interesting. It feels a lot to me like Slayers, which I think is a much better and bigger series of shows with Slayers, but I did enjoy it. From this, though, we're also transitioning now, where starting Monday, we're going to be watching our next one, which is Kaze no Stigma, which is an anime I knew I had seen, and I just kept hearing the name. I was like, dang it, I think I've seen it. And it wasn't until I finally watched the first episode yesterday, or day before, I lose track now, that I saw it again. I was like, yes, I have seen this one, and so I'm looking forward to going through it again to keep up, because when we get to work, then we'll have conversations on chat when we get an opportunity to kind of talk about what we've been watching and what we think of the series. And this one I'm excited to get back to, because it's one that's all about magic, and it's really one about families who their whole series of magic is based on a certain element, and the main one that they follow is all fire magic. But then this one, the main character uses wind magic, and is someone who was kicked out of the family from the fire magic because he couldn't do fire magic well.
I'm sorry, is this Avatar you were talking about?
So the funny part is this came out all way before Avatar. So their twist on it's very different. It's tied to the elements that way, but it's not in the same kind of mystical thing. They basically tie in their magic with spirits that are of those types of elements. And again, it's a whole family of things that work together to fight off things like evil spirits and ghosts to monsters and things like that. It's an interesting anime. It's actually really well done. And so I'll be happy to go through that again. Anyhow, so that's been what I have done that is geek. And that's it. I'm done. Call it good. So I have had some geek this week. It is now time to transition and talk about things newsworthy. So we'll go over here and...
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
So Ken, I don't know if you have any specific articles you have set up, but I know I have one that I wanted to kick things off with.
I have a couple, not many, but yes, please do go on.
Okay, so you had talked about the whole VR thing with the Samsung, and I thought this would be a bit of a transition into that. Is that also this last week, there was Oculus Connect 3. Essentially the big Oculus conference where they talk about new technology and things like that are coming out from Oculus was announced. And so from The Verge, I have an article that just talks about the top kind of few things that were announced at Oculus Connect 3. So the first one was Mark Zuckerberg, owner of Facebook, since they bought out Oculus, came out on stage to present VR, essentially, where he took it in the sense of social, and not necessarily what Facebook's doing, but an idea of how you can interact with other people in VR. So what they did, and I forget what they called it specifically, but in their social experience, they had people all with avatars they had built of themselves, kind of cartoon characters, interacting with the Oculus, with hand controls and stuff like that, with their Oculus Touch. And in doing so, in the presentation, they had the three of them talking around a table and showing stuff like sharing things, like videos and clips that they'd pop it up, and in their virtual space would be a screen behind them that they could expand and detract, whatever like that. And everybody was watching the same experience to websites and things like that. They were able to interact in the world and show that they were like a card game using the touch controls, or chess, little physics-based things that are extensions of their playground they've had. One of the interesting things was that tie, though, into the website stuff. So one of the things he showed as example is using Facebook Messenger. He did a video call to his wife, and when it came up, it popped up with her as her actual video camera from home, and kind of like a virtual, iPad type thing, or virtual tablet that again could be scaled or moved around or placed in the world as a virtual object. He could sit it there and talk to his wife, and she was seeing his VR sense. She was seeing his avatar as the response, and so it's still an animated one with voice syncing to what he was saying. but the virtual version, essentially saying you'll be able to interact with people in the real world while in VR. Kind of giving a hint at how you could do that transition so you can still be in your VR experience and do things like take a call from someone and not have to get out of the experience to then interact with the real world again. Thought that was kind of cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
He also did it by tying in, and they did this little picture they did where he tied into a 360 camera that he had set up at his house, and in doing so was able to look around his house and use it as a backdrop to his avatar, as though he was standing in his home. Saw his dog on the couch there, and they showed us a selfie thing where he took the picture of the background with his dog there, set himself next to the dog essentially by the couch by moving over there, and then using the image or the video of his wife on the phone, and then using this prop they made in the VR, a selfie stick essentially, reached out and took a picture of all three of them. And that's what's shown on the page, which is a virtual, his avatar, his background of his house's video with his dog, and his wife on a video call all together in one picture.
That's really terrifying, actually, but also really cool.
Well, it shows just a level of interaction in ways VR could take hold, right? And that was really the showcase, is what could happen. So I thought that was pretty slick. Another thing they announced was a new headset from Oculus. So they have the VR, like what you're talking about for the Samsung. They have the full-on Oculus, like I have. And they're talking about an intermediary project, something in the middle, that's going to be a walk-around standalone headset that they're working on. And so it's going to be something that you can wear around, but is still its own device, not having to put your phone in it. And some people got to play with the prototype.
So is this like a move on from the Google Glass kind of thing? So it's not necessarily a visual thing, but it's auditory? That's quite a smart move, actually. I like the idea.
Well, it's going to be a full headset still, but it's not going to be tethered. And so it'll be interesting to see how that works. And like I said, some people talked about the prototype. They seem to really like it. We'll see what comes out with that. Other thing they finally announced was the actual Oculus Touch will be shipping this year. The hand controls, which is the big thing that keeps them from being up to par with the Vive. Because really, when you're in VR, having your hands in the experience makes a huge difference. It's insane how big a difference that makes. Having played with the Vive, I'm very excited for this. I'm a little disappointed because of the cost. I was hoping they'd hit a different price point so they'd stay below the Vive in a better way, but they announced it for $199. $199 for the two controllers and another camera setup. And that's part of the cost, is they're doing another camera, which gives you a much more, I don't know how they'll say the position, but a wider controller, more accurate representation of what your hands are doing by having multiple cameras. Along with that, they also announced that they're supporting a full room setup because you can actually buy additional cameras. And they say if you have 3 of them, you can essentially do the full room experience. Now the challenge is that other camera by itself, so you'll get one with the hand controllers, kind of talks about the price difference. But by itself, they released it at $79, so $80 for just the camera. Which kind of makes sense for what it is, but if you have 3 of them, you should be able to do a whole room experience like the Vive. So at least they're keeping and giving that opportunity, and we'll see how it works at the end. Mm-hmm. Another thing they announced was a new set of headphones. So it comes with headphones that can be removed that are just surprisingly good little stereo headphones that with their API gives you really good surround sound. Well, they said because those ones are still are on ear, kind of just not even cups, they do let a lot of background noise in. So what they're announcing with it is a new set of headphones that are basically in-ear ones that you can pop off the original foam ones and put on these in-ear, kind of like what I'm using on the show right now, earbuds, that you can plug directly in. And they say the quality of them is very high quality, that they compared them to like $900 headphones kind of thing. And so they said if you want a more immersive audio experience, it'll block out more external noise and is a very high quality set of earbuds. So that was interesting bit. They talked about making your own avatars, that you'll be able to go in there and make virtual avatars that you'll be able to use in various experiences that'll follow your hand gestures, and you can dress accordingly to how you want, which is just a thing like every other game out there thing, right? But interesting, apparently that it was something that was originally Vaporware said that they were going to do that just fell apart and nothing happened. Well, apparently they picked it up and are doing something with it. They also announced a couple games that'll come out, some of which, especially with the Touch, will be free with pre-order. And the pre-order on the Touch goes on sale tomorrow and will ship by December 6th is when they're going to start shipping them. And I had gotten an email because I have my pre-ordered Oculus I bought. If I buy a set of Touch, I will be on the early list of them shipping. And so I get a preferential shipping date since I was an early backer of Oculus. So I am very tempted. It's more money than I want to spend on them, but I feel like you need to have the hand experience to be real. They also talked about Disney is making some VR experiences, including one that'll be very interesting to see more about, which is Blade Runner. Because that was the classic 80s sci-fi flick from Harrison Ford, or that he was in, that was amazing. And so a great digital world will be interesting to see what they do with that. The last note of it is someone who came out there, and their head scientist, Michael Abrash, came out and basically talked for a half hour about what he projects the future of VR will be over the next 5 years. And that was kind of exciting to say that, yes, it's real now, you can play with it now, but in 5 years, it should be amazing. And talked about all the technology. So, right? Well, he's talked about the technology both in visualization and things like that that should improve. He was talking about how wide the field of view is for the Oculus today compared to what it could be and what people really see, and how he sees that increasing over time, as well as the ability with better screens, the pixel density, things like that. So I'm really excited to see what they do going forward, but it's good to know they're at least continuing on the path this year, and they didn't do the thing that so many companies have done where they kept delaying the touch because they said it would come out this year. Now granted, they got towards the end of the year before it's coming out, so they pushed it. But anyhow, so yeah, that was just my follow-up on VR that I felt I had to get out there, because I will likely...
that was interesting.
I will likely be buying the touch and give reviews. Plus, if you want to watch... on The Verge, they have the supercut where you can hear them talking about all the things I just talked about, but you can also go out to Oculus's YouTube channel, I think, or Twitch, I know it was on there, and watch the entire 2 hours of the main broadcast they did. So that's out there. Anyhow, sir, your reactions or other thoughts of yours?
I think VR in the future is going to become as prominent as smartphones are today. I think VR is going to become... I think that we're going to become so used to VR being a thing that we don't even consider it being cool or anything. We're just used to it, kind of like smartphones are. You expect everybody's part of this VR experience in reality. We'll expect everybody to be found on certain networks via VR. We'll expect to have them all automatically added from other social medias. We'll expect them all to be joined together, and we'll be shocked when people say, "Oh yeah, I don't have a VR device, or I don't have a headset, or whatever we end up using." And we're like, "Really? You don't? How do you function with it? How do you learn? How do you look at YouTube videos? How do you whatever the modern version of that is?
Absolutely,
will be the future." So I'm not. So when you say all this stuff, it's still amazing to me. But more importantly is what comes afterwards.
Yes.
That may be the cutting edge, but you're right. What comes in 5 years' time is the most interesting thing.
And I will recommend everyone, if my vision of VR, and I wouldn't be surprised if others are based on that, is if you do something like go read Ready Player One. It has so much discussion of what a VR world could be if it was really a full thing. And I think they caught a lot of what would really happen. So I do recommend that one as kind of a roadmap to VR. And it even discusses what's not good. Things like that. Also, real quick, different note from VR, and then we'll transition into your stories, is I had to give a shout out to Facebook as we're talking social media, and this, Oculus talking about a Facebook product. And that is in one of the things they've added to Facebook, which is Safety Check. And I bring this up because Safety Check, right now there's a big hurricane that hit the East Coast in the U.S., right? All through Florida, going up north along the coast. I've seen this before in a couple situations. Safety Check, essentially on Facebook, talks about connect with friends and loved ones during a disaster. What it is if an area that you are known to be in is suffering something major, like an earthquake, a fire, a typhoon, hurricane, any of these major things that might worry your friends and family, they have a feature on there where you can basically check in on the site to say you're safe. And through social media, you come in there, you can say you're safe, you can say you're not actually in the area where these things are happening, and stuff like that, just as a way for people in general to see, oh, okay, they're good, I don't have to worry about them. And it pops up on the newsline, so-and-so, it says they're safe from this hurricane, kind of thing. And while it can be gamed and silly and stuff like that, it's actually kind of a neat little feature, because it actually stopped me from reaching out to a couple of people to say, because I knew exactly where it was heading, and that's where they live. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So
you say a little feature, I mean, that can mean the world to different people, and plus, when you're in a place that's getting hit by, crazy weather or whatever, you don't know if the power is going to be out, you don't know if connectivity is going to be out, and if they can get one simple thing through on Facebook,
it can
that's enough.
Yeah, it can calm so many people based on that, so you don't have to worry about it afterwards. So it's something that I've seen popping up.
Also, you can say no, right?
You can actually say, no, this is bad. Yeah. So I like it because it's something I'd seen happening, and I went and found out what it was called and included a link in the notes here for people that just didn't even realize that was a thing. All right, Ken, I will relinquish to you, sir, for articles.
That's all good. Yeah, I've not got a huge amount. In fact, I was wanting to talk. No, I won't do it. It was too silly. Okay, so something that I don't particularly care about myself, but I think is newsworthy, and I think other people might care. Is for the console gamers out there, really, I suppose. Gears of War movie has been confirmed this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was something that was a bit interesting to me, because I enjoyed Gears of War 1 and 2 on the Xbox. I'd say they were good games. I think they were a little bit too cinematic, and you didn't get enough gameplay in some ways for me. I didn't like that it was so overly linear at times. They kind of annoyed me.
Gotcha.
But it was unique. It was great. It was a great take on a post-apocalyptic world. And I just wish they made the characters a little bit less gruff. they're gruff to the nth element. They are the
they are
gruffest
definitely
of gruff.
the manliest of men. They are alpha in every way. Yes.
It was just unnecessary, in my opinion. It was so overly done. It was unrealistic, I think. And that was probably one of the biggest problems with the series. However, I did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It was good. So during today being the 5th, according to this article, so 4 days ago, the Gears of War 4 launch live stream, Coalition studio head Rod Ferguson confirmed that a Gears of War movie is in development at Universal. No writer or director has been announced yet, and Ferguson would not confirm at what point in the Gears universe the movie will take place. Ted and Central Intelligence producer Scott Stuber, that's a good name, Stuber, as well as Planet of the Apes' Dylan Clark, are both on board to produce for Universal Bluegrass Films division. No release date has been set for the film, so I don't think there's much information out at all for this, really. But Gears of War 4, the actual game, launches in, 2 days? So that's pretty cool.
Nice. And that's the thing. Yeah, we're actually at a time frame where a lot of games are releasing, because Mafia 3 Mafia 3 just came out. Gears of War 4 is about to come out. We have... what else is on the horizon right now? We've got... Oh, shoot. Battlefield 1's about to come out, I think, next week. And then, what other ones? There's several, top games that are just about to release in this week and the next. So keep an eye out at the things you've been looking forward to.
Definitely. So I'm not too bothered with the Gears of War movie, but it's cool. Now, this is something that I think everybody's going to be happy about. And now, I remember that this is a weird random fact that I remember from years ago, but I remember listening to Blue Please back on Warcraft Radio. And Total Biscuit was saying how back in the day that this was at the time his favorite game of all time. I don't know if it is anymore. That's probably changed by now. But at one point, this was his favorite game of all time, Beyond Good and Evil, for PlayStation 2, I believe. So I played the game, and I thought it was well made, but I didn't think it was that great. But some people loved it. But in celebrations of his 30th anniversary, Ubisoft announced today, again being 4 days ago, that subscribers to its Ubisoft Club program will be able to play Beyond Good and Evil on PC for free this month.
Ah, nice.
Originally released in 2003, Beyond Good and Evil is a critically well-received action platformer from the mind of Rayman creator Michelle Ansel. It follows an investigative reporter, Jade, as she attempts to expose a government conspiracy threatening her home planet, Hylas. Beyond Good and Evil will only be available for 30 days starting October 12th, on Wednesday. It will only be available to those who have subscribed to the Ubisoft Club, a free program to anybody with a Uplay account. Other games that have been offered include Prince of Persia: Sands of Time and the first Splinter Cell game. So that's cool. I think a second one is coming out soon. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was announced in 2008, actually, so 8 years ago that was announced. But it's actually in production still, believe it or not, as it was hinted on its Ansel's Instagram account recently. So it is still ongoing, and maybe that's why they're trying to push out the original game again for people to try it for free, because they're actually putting out number 2 sometime in the future. So that's cool. Again, I thought it was alright, but if you're interested and you want to try a game out, especially one that's critically acclaimed by somebody who loves video games like Total Biscuit, check that out as well. So that's cool. I personally hate Ubisoft, and I don't even want to support them by signing up to their thing. So that kind of puts me off alone, to be honest. Which is kind of sad, really. I dislike them so much, I will not take their free stuff. But there you go.
They've done some poor things lately, unfortunately. So yeah.
What do you think of the Watch Dogs 2?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on Watch Dogs 2? It's coming out soonish, I think.
Hopefully it's the actual game Watch Dogs 1 was supposed to be. Because the challenge was I was really excited for Watch Dogs, the whole hack around the world thing and the city and do all these things. And everything I heard about it, I didn't play it myself, was that it was a huge letdown. That it did not meet up to basically what they had advertised it should be. And so,
dude, you'll love the first hour of it. The first hour was great fun. And then you start. Oh, wait a minute. That's it. I thought it was just the intro, but it turns out that's the entire game.
Oh,
It's
geez.
just not after that.
See, and that's unfortunate. But so we'll see. 2 is not on my radar for something I must do or explore or whatever. It is something that if I start hearing really good things and I'm lacking in something to do at the time, maybe I will check it out. And so we'll see, because I'm also still saturated with games where I actually had to close one of my sites there for shopping because I had both Mafia 3 and Battlefield 1 on, like, to purchase, and I kind of want them both, but I don't know when I would play them. And so I'm like, like, I need to pick up Battlefield because that one will actually be playing multiplayer at tournament, likely, and so I need to pick that up when it launches. But I was still just like, I don't know, I don't need it. And so, yeah,
Needs a funny word, isn't it?
Close it for now.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
Right.
But that's all the articles I actually have. I did have another thing open that I can look through, which is, in fact, I should probably mention it anyway. So it's this website I've mentioned in the past, and it is one of my favorites. It's isthereanydeal.com.
Oh, yeah.
They're not endorsing us. I'm just generally referencing it. But what you can do is you can attach your Steam account to it, and I believe it's secure, but don't trust me on that. Don't take my word. I do it, but whatever. And what it does is you can import your wish list. And the great thing about isthereanydeal.com is it'll check Amazon, it'll check obscure websites like Green Man Gaming or Indie Bundles and Humble Bundle, etc. And it'll check Steam as well. And it'll tell you if there's any deal anywhere on the web for these games. So, but it'll learn from your wish list. So it'll say, oh, you say you want this at some point. Well, now that you've imported into your account on isthereanydeal.com, we'll send you emails when it's below a certain threshold that you choose in your settings. So you can say, for example, never get in contact with me unless the game is worth less than £5 or £4 or $3 or whatever else, right? And so that means you can be really smart with your budgeting on it. I think by default it just spams you if there's a deal on, and I had to turn that off because it was annoying. But if you're smart with it, and you actually comb through the settings, it can be a really powerful and useful tool that would otherwise, it'll probably save you a lot of money. Then again, it might cost you more because you'll actually spend it on games when you wouldn't have otherwise, I don't know. But it's good to know anyway. So I've currently got about, 30 games in there. And yeah, it always tells me when there's stuff on sale, and it's very, very useful.
Nice.
I do recommend it.
Well, that is pro tip for saving money, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
So we like to provide that for everyone. And with that tip, though, we are at the end of the show today. It's time for us to call it and let you guys have the rest of your day back. I will not be after the show jumping into the gaming night because I have my bi-weekly D&D session tonight. And so as long as everyone shows up and gets online and is available, I'll be crawling through an adventure with my dragonborn fighter tonight. But for all of you, please join people after the show at our VTW TeamSpeak, and you can jump in and play whatever games people are jumping on. Like I said, we always talk about many of them that are out there, and feel free to recruit others in to play what you like to play. Ken, will you lead us out of here today?
Sure thing. You have listened to Show X on VTWProductions.com. Check us out all over the place. We are on Twitter.com/VTWShowX, Twitter.com/DocDead, and Twitter.com/GoHex for myself. You can send us an emails, showx@VTWProductions.com. We do love receiving emails from you lovely listeners. We also love receiving your pennies, because the show isn't free. You know, the hardware costs money, the software costs money, the server costs money. Our time, however, is completely free. We do not get paid for this. The money goes straight back into VGW, and we don't use it for anything else other than the show. And so if you want to do that, you can support us by going to patreon.com/showx. But if you don't have any money, or you feel like doing extra, or you just don't, I don't know, you want to support us in a different way, you totally can. Share us on Facebook, on Twitter, on freaking LinkedIn, Quora, I don't care. Just share us with your friends. Tell your friends and family to watch the show, to listen to the show. Reference us, put out a tweet or something with a link to our show. We'd very much appreciate that, and to be honest, that's the best thing you can do, because we'll always do the show even if we have one listener, and that's all. But it makes us feel good if we know that our listener base increases or at least stays the same. That makes us very happy. So that's always a good thing to do as well. Thanks very much to Alpha Geek Radio, our broski station. They help us out in so many ways. We really do appreciate all their efforts and all the time and resources they have given us. I want to give a big shout out to all the other shows on VGWProductions.com as well. Check those out. They're all of good quality or above, because we don't allow anything else. And I think that's everything. So thank you very much for having me on the show as well, sir. It's always good to be here.
Yes, thank you very much for joining me, Ken, and thank you everyone for tuning in and listening/watching us this week and every week. And like Ken said, reiteration, please email on the show all the things that you'd like us to talk about, things you do, interact with us that way. Thank you for being on the IRC and helping us. And please tell your friends. You like our show, you like listening to us, why not share it and see what other people think of our show? We'd love to have them. All right, with that, we will catch you guys again next week. So thank you very much, and have a good one. Bye, everybody!
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie.